My name is Daniel Mercer. I'm 27 years old, born in Manchester but living in London long enough to forget the smell of the sea. This is the story I've never told anyone. I call it, I was joking. She looked straight into my eyes and said, I'm not. If I close my eyes, I can still see the exact moment everything changed. It was raining that evening, the kind of quiet London rain that makes the city look softer than it really is. I was staying late at the office, not because I had to, but because going home meant facing the silence of my flat and the louder silence inside my chest. I worked as a senior brand strategist at Halden & Rowe, glass walls, expensive coffee, people who smiled without warmth. I was good at my job, predictable, reliable, emotionally, a mess. I kept well dressed. She joined our company on a Monday morning in October. Her name was Elena Carter, marketing analyst, 25, Canadian, though she'd grown up partly in Oxford after her mother remarried. She had this calm, observant way of moving through spaces, as if she saw everything but chose carefully what to react to. The first thing I noticed wasn't her beauty. It was her stillness. While everyone else performed confidence, she seemed anchored, quietly self-possessed. We didn't speak much that first week, just polite nods, shared elevators, the occasional morning. But tension has a way of growing in silence. 2 weeks later, we were assigned to the same campaign, rebranding a luxury hotel chain. Late nights became routine. Shared deadlines, shared stress, shared takeaway dinners eaten over glowing laptop screens. One night, near midnight, the office was almost empty. She was sitting cross-legged on her chair, glasses sliding down her nose, reviewing analytics reports. I tossed her a chocolate bar from the vending machine. Peace offering, I said, for making you stay this late. She caught it without looking up. You didn't make me stay, didn't I? I'm the terrifying senior strategist, remember? She glanced up then, slowly, and smiled. Terrifying isn't the word I'd use. What word would you use? She held my gaze a second too long. Careful. I laughed it off, but something in my chest tightened. Weeks passed. We grew closer in the way colleagues do first. Inside jokes, sarcastic emails, silent teamwork that didn't require instructions. But beneath it, something else was building. I just didn't know what. Or maybe I didn't want to know. The night of the joke happened after our campaign pitch. We'd won the account. Huge deal for the company. Drinks were mandatory. Celebration was loud, crowded, suffocating. I hate corporate parties. Too many forced laughs. Too many secrets hidden behind champagne glasses. Around 11 p.m., I escaped to the balcony outside the bar. Cold air. City lights. Silence. A few minutes later, the door slid open behind me. Elena stepped out, wrapping her coat tighter. Thought I'd find you hiding, she said. I'm not hiding. You always say that while hiding. She leaned on the railing beside me, close enough that I could smell her perfume, soft, warm, something like vanilla and rain. We watched traffic crawl below for a while. Then she said quietly, You looked nervous in there. I don't do well with crowds. That's not it. I turned. Oh, then what is it, Dr. Carter? She didn't smile. You don't let people get close. I scoffed lightly. We're having psychological evaluations now. I'm serious, Daniel. There was that stillness again, that unnerving way she saw too much. So I deflected, like always. Maybe I just haven't met anyone worth letting close. I meant it playfully, teasing, a casual line tossed into the night. But she didn't laugh. Instead, she turned fully toward me. Her eyes locked onto mine with an intensity that made my breath stall. So let me get this straight, she said softly. If you met someone worth it, you would. I shrugged, smirking. Sure. Fall tragically in love. Ruin my life. The whole cinematic experience. She stepped closer. Close enough that I could see the faint scar near her eyebrow. Close enough that my pulse started misbehaving. I raised my hands lightly, half laughing. Relax. I'm joking. That's when it happened. She looked straight into my eyes and said, I'm not. The world didn't stop. But something inside me did. The city noise faded. The cold disappeared. There was only her gaze, steady, fearless, terrifyingly sincere. You're not joking? I asked. She shook her head once. No. Silence stretched between us, heavy and electric. I searched her face for a hint of playfulness, irony, regret. There was none. Only vulnerability and resolve. My instincts screamed retreat. Relationships meant complications. Expectations. Loss. I'd watched my parents' marriage collapse slowly, violently, love turning into resentment, then indifference. I promised myself I'd never get that close to anyone. So I did what cowards do when faced with something real. I laughed, soft at first, then louder. "Wow," I said, shaking my head. "You almost had me there." Her expression didn't change. I kept going, digging my own grave. "Elena, you're amazing, but we work together. And I'm not exactly relationship material." Still silence. Then she asked quietly, "Is that the truth or the shield?" I didn't answer, because I didn't know. Or maybe I did, and didn't want to say it aloud. She inhaled slowly, steadying herself. "Okay," she said. "I misread things." "You didn't misread," I said quickly. "I just don't," she cut in gently. "You don't owe me an explanation." But her eyes betrayed her. There was hurt there. Not dramatic, not theatrical, quiet hurt, the kind that lingers. She turned toward the door, paused, then said without looking back, "For what it's worth, I meant what I said." And she left me alone on that balcony, with the echo of a confession I hadn't been brave enough to receive. Things changed after that night. Not suddenly, but undeniably. We were still professional, still polite, but the ease was gone. Conversations became shorter. Eye contact rarer. The invisible thread between us had snapped, and we both felt the absence. I told myself I'd done the right thing. Workplace relationships were messy, temporary, risky. I'd protected us both. At least, that's what I repeated whenever guilt crept in at 2 a.m. Then came the family complication. 3 weeks later, my mother called. We weren't particularly close, but she sounded unusually insistent. "Daniel, I want you to come to dinner Sunday," she said. "Your sister's bringing someone important." I almost declined, but guilt won. Sunday evening, I drove to my childhood home in North London, the same house where I'd learned how loud love could break when it shattered. When I walked into the dining room, my sister Lily jumped up to hug me. "Finally, you're late." "Traffic," I muttered. Then she said the sentence that tilted my world off its axis. "I want you to meet someone." I turned toward the table, and my heart stopped, because sitting beside my sister, smiling politely, was Elena. For a full 5 seconds, no one spoke. Lily looked between us, confused. "You two look like you've seen a ghost." Elena recovered first. Professional composure sliding into place like armor. "We work together," she said calmly. Lily beamed. "See? Small world. Small world." It felt microscopic, suffocating. I sat down slowly, pulse roaring in my ears. Dinner conversation blurred into background noise. Every time our hands accidentally brushed passing dishes, electricity shot up my arm. But neither of us acknowledged it, until Lily casually dropped the second bomb. "Elena's been coming over a lot lately," she said. "Mum loves her. Honestly, she's practically family now." Family. The word echoed like a warning bell. I glanced at Elena. For the first time that night, her composure cracked, just slightly, enough for me to see the conflict in her eyes. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. Rejecting her at work hadn't ended anything. It had only moved the battlefield. Now she was inside my family's world, inside my mother's trust, inside my sister's life. And the feelings I tried to dismiss? They weren't fading. They were getting stronger, more dangerous, more unavoidable. Later that night, as I was leaving, I found her alone in the hallway, putting on her coat. We stood there in thick silence. Finally, I said quietly, "You didn't tell me you knew my sister." "I didn't know. Until after the balcony," she replied. "Why didn't you say anything at work?" She met my eyes. "Because you made it clear you didn't want anything personal between us." The words stung more than they should have. I ran a hand through my hair. "This complicates things." She gave a faint, sad smile. "Things were already complicated, Daniel." She reached for the door, then paused beside me, and whispered, "You laughed when I told you how I felt." A beat of silence. "But you haven't laughed since." Then she left me standing there, haunted by the truth I tried to outrun. Because she was right. I hadn't laughed. Not once. And deep down, I was starting to realize why. I didn't sleep that night. Not really. I lay in my childhood bed staring at the ceiling, replaying every second from the balcony and every second from the hallway. Her voice echoed the loudest. "You laughed when I told you how I felt, but you haven't laughed since." She was right. I hadn't. Because somewhere between rejecting her and seeing her at my family's table, something had shifted inside me. Not suddenly, but irreversibly. Work became unbearable after that dinner. Not because of tension, but because of restraint. We were orbiting each other constantly. Meetings, presentations, strategy sessions. But now there were layers beneath every interaction. History, unspoken feelings, family ties, and fear. One Tuesday evening, we were the last two left in the conference room reviewing quarterly projections. The silence stretched too long. Finally, I closed my laptop. "We need to talk." She didn't look up. "About work?" "No. About us." Her hands stilled on the keyboard. Slowly, she shut her laptop too. "Okay," she said quietly. I struggled for words, rare for someone whose job revolved around persuasion. "I didn't laugh because I didn't care," I said. "I laughed because I was scared." She held my gaze, but said nothing. "My parents' marriage," I exhaled. "It destroyed itself slowly. I watched love turn into resentment, promises into obligations. I swore I'd never let myself get that deep with anyone." Understanding flickered in her eyes, but it didn't soften her completely. "So you decided it was safer to feel nothing?" she asked. "I decided it was safer not to risk everything." She leaned back slightly. "And now?" I hesitated, because the truth was heavier than pride. "Now you're everywhere," I admitted. "At work, at home, in my thoughts when I'm trying to sleep." Silence. Then she asked the question that mattered most. "So what are you saying, Daniel?" I stepped closer. "I'm saying I was wrong to laugh." A flicker of vulnerability crossed her face, but she guarded it quickly. "You don't get to revisit confessions like missed deadlines," she said softly. "That night took courage for me." "I know. And you dismissed it." "I know." She looked away toward the dark window. "My feelings didn't disappear just because you rejected them," she admitted. "But they changed. They protected themselves. That hurt more than anger would have. Because distance is colder than rage. Is there still something there?" I asked carefully. She didn't answer immediately. When she finally spoke, her voice was steady but fragile underneath. "Yes," she said, "but it's not naive anymore." I nodded slowly. "Fair." We stood there, inches apart, tension thick enough to feel physical. Then she said something I didn't expect. "But it's not just about us anymore." I frowned. "What do you mean?" "My mother," she said quietly. I blinked. "Your mother?" She swallowed. "She knows about you." "How?" I told her about the man I liked at work. Before the balcony. Before everything. My pulse quickened. And she asked me to be careful. "Why?" Elena hesitated, like she was deciding whether to open a locked door. Then she did. "Because she recognized your name." A chill crept up my spine. "Recognized how?" "She knew your father." The air left my lungs. "My father died 8 years ago." "I know," she said gently. "But before that, he and my mother worked together in Toronto. Very closely." I stared at her, mind racing. "Okay, that's just coincidence." She shook her head slowly. "No, Daniel, it isn't." My chest tightened. "What are you saying?" She stepped closer, voice barely above a whisper. "I'm saying my mother warned me about getting emotionally involved with anyone from your family." "Why?" Her eyes searched mine, apologetic, conflicted. "Because she said your father broke her heart." The room felt like it tilted. "That's not possible," I said instinctively. "My dad wasn't. He wouldn't." "I'm not saying he was a bad man," she said quickly. "But they had a relationship before he married your mother." I staggered back a step, absorbing the impact. "So you're telling me, our parents were in love once," she finished. Silence fell like snowfall. Heavy, soundless, unavoidable. I drove straight to my mother's house that night. I needed answers. She opened the door, surprised. "Daniel, is everything all right?" I didn't bother with pleasantries. "Did Dad know a woman named Sarah Carter in Toronto?" The color drained from her face. That was answer enough. She sat down slowly. "Yes," she said. "Were they involved?" A long pause. Then, "Yes." I ran my hands over my face. "Why didn't I ever know?" "Because it ended before you were born," she said softly. "He chose to come back to London." "To me? To you? Or to stability?" I asked bitterly. She didn't answer, which told me more than words could. "Did he love her?" I asked. My mother's eyes glistened. "Yes," she whispered. "He did. And you still married him?" "I loved him too," she said. "Love is rarely simple, Daniel." That sentence lingered long after I left. The next evening, I met Elena by the Thames. Cold wind, gray water, a city holding its breath. "So it's true," I said. She nodded. We stood side by side. absorbing the strange symmetry of fate. Our parents couldn't make it work, she said quietly. And look at us, repeating the same fear before even trying. I looked at her, really looked, past the complications, past the history, to the woman who had stood on a balcony and told me the truth when I hid behind jokes. I don't want to repeat their story, I said. Neither do I, she replied. But avoiding love didn't save them, I added. And it didn't save me either. She turned toward me slowly. So what are you saying now? I took a breath that felt like stepping off a cliff. I'm saying I'm done laughing when I'm scared. Her eyes softened, just slightly. I'm saying if there's even a chance we can write a different ending. I want to try. Silence. Long enough for doubt to creep in. Then she asked, No shields. No shields. No jokes to deflect? None. She searched my face, measuring sincerity the way she always did. Finally, she stepped closer. So let me get this straight, she said, echoing that night on the balcony. If you met someone worth it, you would. This time, I didn't laugh. I didn't deflect. I didn't hide. I already did, I said. And when she kissed me, it wasn't cinematic fireworks. It was quieter, deeper, like two people choosing courage at the same time. Epilogue, the lesson I never expected. It's been 2 years since that night by the river. We don't work in the same department anymore, intentionally. Boundaries matter. Family dinners are still slightly awkward, but healing has a way of softening old wounds. Sometimes Elena and I talk about how close we came to never happening. All because of one joke, one laugh used as armor. And every time, I think about something my mother said the night I confronted her. Love is rarely simple. She was right. It isn't simple. It isn't safe. It doesn't arrive when your past is neatly resolved. It arrives messy, entangled with history, fear, timing, and risk. But here's what I learned. The lesson that still sits heavy and sacred in my chest. The greatest tragedy isn't loving the wrong person. It's laughing when the right person tells you the truth, because you're too afraid to believe you deserve it. If Elena hadn't looked into my eyes that night and said, I'm not, I might have spent my whole life hiding behind humor, mistaking emotional safety for happiness, and never realizing that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop joking and answer love seriously when it calls your name.